On April 19, 1929, Eula Faye Lovelace was born at home in Floyd Switch, Kentucky. In the big cities across the United States, the Roaring Twenties were still in full swing despite Prohibition. Flappers were redefining femininity, jazz music was all the rage, and the Art Deco movement was at its peak. Herbert Hoover had just been sworn in as president. The country was prosperous and optimistic. Then, on October 29th, the stock market crashed, signaling the start of the Great Depression. Farming in rural areas suffered the most, as crop prices fell 60%. Faye's parents, Lorenzo and Roxy, were poor dirt farmers who raised everything from grains and vegetables to hogs, cattle, and chickens. They had 10 children to help them take care of it all. Faye's first memory is of being sick. Sick enough that her parents didn't think she would live.
I can just barely remember parts of it, but I remember waking up with my neck sore. And I couldn't get up out of bed, and I started crying. My aunt come a-running to see what was the matter, and I said I can't get up. And her and Mom, she called Mom, and they tried to get me out of bed. They tried to lift me up by me lifting up my arms around Mom's neck, and I still couldn't get up. It hurt too bad, so I screamed. They let go. But my Aunt Mont was there, and I wanted to get up and talk to her. And
that your mom's sister?
That was my dad's sister. And we all liked her. She was good to us, and I used to stay with her when school was out. She lived at Nancy. She had good things to eat and gave me eggs to buy cookies and candy with. And
she the one that bought you a dress?
No, it was her daughter that bought me my second store-bought dress. I got one when I was sick. From pennies that people gave me. Cost 59 cents. I got a pair of green bloomers with it. The dress was green. It had a white collar. I used the underwear to swim in because we didn't have no bathing suits.
Did you go buy the dress, or someone brought it to you when you were sick?
My brother Edgar had an old jalopy, and he said, when you get well enough to go to the store, we'll go up to the store and you can get you a store-bought dress with your pennies you got saved up that people had given me. So I got better, finally. And he kept his word. He went to the store.
How do you have a car?
Well, I don't know. He probably stole them. No, I don't know where he got the car. He used to make homebrew and sell it.
Mm-hmm.
He got in a lot of trouble, too.
Edgar Lovelace's troubles paled in comparison to distillers and bootleggers in large cities at the time. Al Capone was convicted in 1931, and police were busting up speakeasies and illegal distilleries as quickly as they could. But the long arm of the law just barely made it to Floyd Switch.
The sheriff came one time looking for his stash, looking all over the property for his stash, and he had it in a thicket. He had a hole dug in the ground, and he had a rock laying on it. And we didn't know that the sheriff was running around looking till late. Well, we heard him, and we did see him, but we was hid in this thicket, and we thought while we was hid from him, we didn't want to go out because we knew where it was, and we knew he was looking for it, and we just had us a few drinks while we was in there. And my brother had run up to the neighbors, and this old woman that lived up there, she hid him in her house and told the sheriffs he wasn't there. And they didn't get him that time, but they come back when he was putting bottoms in some chairs around the heating stove, and the rest of us had gone to the table to eat supper. And they come to the door, and they didn't even knock. They just opened the door and come in, and my brother jumped up and run out in the backyard, run past me sitting in my high chair. I'll never forget it. And he run out the back door, and he ducked under the clothesline, and the sheriff didn't duck, and the clothesline was broke. A wire clothesline. And that old sheriff didn't like messing around. But he didn't get him because he run away that time. He almost got him, though. And when he'd get caught and put in jail, Dad would go get him out. Dad knew the judge. Mom said, "You're ruining that boy. You're spoiling him to death." And then she'd bake cakes and cookies and send to jail to him. We didn't figure that out at first. But I guess a mother loves their kids no matter what they do.
Later, Edgar became a hobo, like many others during the Depression who thought they might find a better life away from their hometowns. He traveled across the country by hopping trains, but he eventually settled down back in Kentucky.
Oh yeah, he used to go on hobo trips and he'd come home, and we was always glad to see him. But one time he come home, we saw somebody coming down the road and we thought it looked like him, us little kids, and we went running to meet him, and he was as black as the ace of spades. He had coal dust all over him, and he'd been hopping cars, and when he'd go by our place, why, he would roll coal off all the way where our property come up to the railroad, and there was the railroad was up a hill. You had to climb up a hill to get on the railroad, but he'd roll that coal off of the train, and Dad would take his seagrass sacks up there and pick up them big blocks of coal and carry them home and use them in the stove to help keep us warm. Now that wasn't very nice of him, but it was free to him, and he couldn't control his son from doing it, so that helped us out. He'd come home with a bag of coal. He'd go to mailbox, and here he'd come with a bag of coal. He said, "Well, Edgar's been by." So we hovered around the stove and kept warm. So what else you want to know?